Well, actually, this whole thing started after the 9/11, and then I wanted to understand what I didn't understand, the extremists of Islamic extremists, and I went to Cairo with a grant there and found out that it was actually not interesting to talk again about extremists, because the media already talk, or media in general talk already so much about extremists that it's like almost too much to talk about it again, and that I realized there that I didn't know anything about Islam, religion or culture, and that it was actually much more interesting to talk about normal people, like just you and I, but living there.
And what was your experience in this challenge about describing your reality, but also living another reality which was different from the one you belonged to?
For sure, the piece we create for European, and this is totally different if I'm going to work for Oriental or Egyptian or Arab audience, because here we try to face them with the facts which they didn't know. So I mean, for me, for sure, I don't discover through the work as much as I know. I mean, I know my culture well, I know our perspective, I know our point of view, so for me it was not a kind of research. Maybe for Jan and Nicole, they was discovering and every day discovering, but the nice thing in the personal level that is the project is allowed to me to discover myself. I mean, it's allowed to me to discover and read my culture from other perspective, which is give me more variety for my world. You know, I start to see myself from outside, which is very rich. It's helped me as an artist a lot to discover my culture from the other place. So that is the experience I get personally and artistically from this project. But of course, that's when we talk about Islam, I talk about something I already know. So I start to discover it, and also I reach the point that is, and that is also one of most point we get, that is not necessary to be similar to be friends. We can be totally different and have a problem, but we can survive.
I don't think that this piece is about learning about Islam. It's much more about learning about us here, how we look at the other, right? All our preconceived ideas. And that's something, that's why the piece, I mean, I don't think we can show it like this in the Islamic world, for example, because we should have to work on the preconceived ideas on the other side.
For me, I'm belonging to kind of theater or sort of theater in Egypt, which is very open to European culture. Not that classic like other theater in Egypt. And for that, it wasn't that far from me. I mean, I learned from European examples. But what I learned really, and that we miss in our system, is the system. You know, how to organize, how to think, how to dissolve a problem, and this is meaning you reach the solution through the work. And in our code, in art, usually, you know, you have an idea and you present it. And you don't spend a lot of effort to reach your goal. But here, this is like, I feel here more about like a chemical or engineering construction. You know, you have a problem, so you design it, how to dissolve it, and how to collect the material. So you build something. For us, is something like improvisation or singing, or you know, that's what I learned here. But I know that is the theater in general in our countries is something new. I mean, it's start in Europe since thousands years, but in Egypt too, we started to have real theater maybe 100 years ago, less than 100 years. We have cinema before we have theater. Except there is a very traditional Arabic theater, which is the shadow and the light. This is the only thing we know. And telling tales, that is also one of our theater, because that is the theater we know. So that's new.
What we really like about the piece is that it creates a kind of idea of a political possibility of being in a space that is not anymore a space of representation, but rather a space of a political space in the real sense of the word, of saying that it's about how we live in the city, right? Polis, the city. And that's something that is really very strong in general at the end of the piece. People stay and they talk with each other. And that's something we enjoy a lot, which is really part of the piece. It's it's not us necessarily doing all things all the time, it's also what happens with the people in the space. They're not separated from us, they're with us on the stage, there is no separation. That's something I like, and therefore we notice also very much how different it is every time. Because sometimes it's very aggressive, the people are talking very like woo woo woo, and sometimes it's very peaceful, very gentle, and it's really very different.
Usually I can see the differences between the audience in the beginning of the show, and while we go with it, these differences disappear until usually I feel the audience at last minutes is the same in everywhere. You know, we presented more than 60 times, and at the end of the show, almost the people I feel the same family, the same group. We are one group. In the beginning of the show, really, it's big different from north of France until the south. It's different style, but I think that is the difference is melt through the show.
Mm.